Today I'm going to show you how to create your own shaker loops. And at the end, you're going to have something that sounds like this. There's two different approaches to recording your own shaker loops. You could either start directly in your DAW, record via your audio interface or your USB microphone, or you could also use your cell phone to record. Doesn't really matter. Cool thing is that you don't need to be an expert at shaker playing to record these or have the best studio setup. You can really do this on the go, just matters how enthusiastically you play. So I'm going to start off by creating a core little groove using a kick sound from an upcoming pack of mine. Yeah, I kind of like this one. So I'm going to start with just the groove. Make sure that it's on 120 BPM. That's a comfortable BPM to start off with. Style it down a bit. Can loop it up now. Below the kick, we're going to create an audio track and select microphone input 1. That's the microphone that I'm currently talking into, and that's the same microphone I'm going to be using for the shaker recording. So let's select audio track 1, select input. Hello, hello. All right, so now my voice is also going to this channel, which means that I could also record any type of sound into my DAW. Once we've made sure that our track is on in external input, audio track 1, right? That's the track that's coming right into our audio interface. Record on this track, we can hit record here. And I'm using a pretty classic shaker. This is the shaker by Meinl. I like it. It has a really nice little grip to it. I like how you can put your thumb here and your two other fingers up here. And what I'm going to do is take away this filter thingy and record. Put it back on. So now we're gonna put it back on off, disable record arm. And as you can see over here, I played it in a pretty different style here in comparison to when I played it here. Here I emphasized that groove, that fourth beat a bit more. Simply dial down the track a bit and hit play. And just pay attention to the overall timing of how I played. What I'm gonna do is double click on the sample itself. Make sure that it's warped to 120 BPM. And you can also loop up a certain section here by hitting Command L. And move along the loop. Maybe also create a shorter loop here. Or maybe go in this section where I played it a bit harder. Interesting. I like how this one's a bit more off-grid. It's a bit more Latino, but let's continue to look. Yeah, I kind of like this one, to be honest. So that's the loop that I've selected. Now I'm going to make sure that the entire loop plays until the end. And again, you could do this also for the cell phone recording. And just to demonstrate, I'm going to launch the Voice Memos app on my phone and hit record. So now you can see that it's actually recording here. I'm going to put my cell phone right here and do the same exact recording, right? I'm just going to take whatever I just recorded and simply send it over to my PC. I'm going to use AirDrop for that because I find that to be pretty helpful. All right, and then I'm just going to drag it into my DAW over here to the audio track beneath. So this is a pretty unquantized recording. Let's see if we can quantize this. Even if it's really off-grid, you can still select your favorite snippet. Maybe we can take this like as a layer to our other shaker groove. So this is pretty loose, not really on grid. So what I'm going to do is Command A to select all, and then Command Shift U to go into the quantization grid. Going to make sure it's quantized to 1/16 because shakers play a 16th groove. Hit apply. See how it sounds. Okay, so it sounds really weird and off grid because we warped a sample that doesn't fit to the BPM to the BPM, which makes it sound like really rattly. So I highly recommend that if you record a shaker using your cell phone, you at least use the kick playing in the background so you know what BPM you need to use. But in this case, I feel like I could still make something work out of this recording. So what I'm going to do is go into 1-bar mode or maybe 1/8 and select my favorite part. See, so there's always something that you could still use even if the recording's completely off. And then I'm going to duplicate this towards the end. And what's interesting is about shakers is that you can literally layer them as many times as you like. So you could do this recording over and over. So this one's kind of like a rhythmic layer here. Let's go into forward transient and make it really snappy here. Interesting. So this would be my snappy shaker groove. Let's actually also rename this into snappy. And this one we're going to call loose. So what else can we do to shakers? Let's pan the first layer to the left, about 30. Second layer, we're going to pan to the right, also about 30, because shakers are usually pretty wide. I'm going to put it more towards the center. I'm going to group both of these together, and on the group channel I'm going to do slight processing. Therefore I'm going to use an EQ8 to cut out any lows. Then I'm going to add a saturator to add some harmonic frequencies to both signals at the same time, and a glue compressor to literally glue them together to reduce the overall dynamics of the sound. So we're taking it out by 5 dB, and we also want to boost it up by 5 dB. We don't want them to be too loud. Shakers should just add to your groove. And honestly, I kind of want them to be more in the center here. There we go. If you want your shakers to have a bit more movement, what you can do is add an auto pan to the group channel. So I'm going to add an auto pan after the effects here. Put it to a rate of maybe 1/4. Or 1/16, it's a bit quicker. Can also change the shape. I'm going to leave it on sine. And we're also going to add a bit more movement with LFO tool. This will enable the shaker to be ducked whenever the kick is playing. If you don't have LFO tool, there's another way to do this. You can just use Ableton Live's compressor. That's an audio effect. You can find it in Dynamics, compressor. You can open up this triangle over here, select sidechain, audio input from kick. So whenever the kick hits, these shakers are going to be reduced in volume. Let's listen to the compressor first. Becomes more groovy, right? The other way around is using LFO tool. I just find it a bit simpler. Does give you a bit more controls over how the curve works here. That's why I always prefer using LFO tool instead of compressors. But just to show you that there's two ways to do it, you don't necessarily need to have LFO tool. And then we're going to also add Vocoder to this group track as well. So let's put this before our auto pan here. Make sure that it's on noise. The carrier is the noise. Oh, does a lot. It adds a lot of white noise to our groove. You can play around with the release to make it shorter. You can also shift the format to make it higher or lower. And if you're really up for it, you can also automate the release time to make it groove differently. But I'm going to keep it simple for now. Just leave it at a value that I like. Yeah. Then again, you can always go back to your grooves and select a different part of the sample. Let's say you've done all the processing, but you still want to test around if there's another section of your recording that you like a bit more. You can also quantize this, to be honest. Command-Shift-U, apply. And one of the final things that I like to do to my shakers is to add groove. In this grooves panel, you can find a ton of different grooves that you can add to your shakers. For me personally, I like the Logic groove, the 16th. You can see the number here, 16th. And another number here. This determines the amount of groove that is applied to the sample, and it goes all the way up to 74 in most cases. So 74 is a bit too much. I usually like sticking around 50, 55. So what I'm going to do is select this entire region over here, hit Command J to consolidate so it's one entire clip. And what I'm going to do from here is simply drag and drop my swing or my groove onto both of these clips. So now you can see the groove pool is opened up, and we can always utilize different grooves in this groove pool, but I'm going to keep it at this one for now. You can also preview the grooves here. Simply drag and drop it onto my individual layers. All right, so we've dragged and dropped our groove onto both layers, and this is how it sounds with the groove. You can also see that it's applied here. Cool. And if we take away the groove here, it's a bit more tight, a bit more on grid, And with the groove, it sounds a bit more loose. Yeah, I like the Logic shaker grooves, and there's a couple of grooves that are specifically designed for shakers, like these Jazz African shakers. And if you find that one to be interesting, you can also open up your groove pool, add it here, and then drag and drop this Jazz African shaker groove onto both of your audio tracks. Hit play. And that groove is applied to both of these guys. And what you can do is simply select a different groove from within this panel at any time. And at this point, when you've established the core yourself, you can also use samples or different libraries of your choice. Like this sample I really like, gonna add it to the group. Maybe pen it all the way to the left. Take this guy over here, put him all the way to the right, put him in the group. And also give both of these guys our 16th Logic groove. Nice. I love how much the vocoder is doing. And usually when I have my shakers done, I move on to adding claps or some kind of a loop that I like. Like this one. Yeah. Of course, you're gonna have to make sure that the loops that you drag in also have the same groove as your shakers. Nice. Try out different grooves like this one too. Sounds really Afro, right? And maybe add a clap here too. You can also add individual loops to your group channel to make them be a part of this processing group, or you can take them out at any time. Bit of a different vibe each time, right? Nice. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this tutorial, feel free to hit that like and subscribe button. Grab this project file on my Patreon page. Also, make sure to stay tuned for Afro. It's coming out very soon. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.